Canines are our passion. They are our addiction. They are our way of life, right down to the very core. And without them, we would be lost. The canines of this world really are something to behold. They assist us at work. They accompany us at home. And they perform for us in the field. No matter where we go, they are by our side. Canines really are a ride or die, and for that, we are grateful. This podcast will showcase working canines of various breeds and disciplines as we search for those canines and their handlers who are always striving to be the best at what they do. Those who are always grinding. Those who are always pushing the limits. Those who are always dogging. Join us on our adventures as it is sure to be a wild ride. I'm your host, Bryce Matthews.
And I'm your co-host, Stephen Basham.
And this is Semper Doggin. Welcome to episode numero uno of the Semper Doggin podcast. Guys, I am your host, Bryce Matthews, and I am joined by your co-host, Stephen Basham today. Mr. Basham, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good. How about yourself?
Buddy, I can't complain. Been hunting.
Yeah.
Been staying busy.
I know. We're going to get into that today.
I know. It's going to be good. Guys, we are so glad you have decided to join us over here at the Semper Doggin podcast. We hope you've maybe seen some of our stuff on our Facebook page, our Facebook group, Semper Doggin Podcast. You can find that over on Facebook. It's a private group just for this podcast and the members of it. A lot of good stuff going on over there. So we have been posting for the last couple months, trying to build up to this release date, and I think we're there.
We are here.
Today's the day.
The grand opening.
I'm excited.
It's going to be guys, it's going to be an adventure. Me and Bryce, we'll get into it on this podcast, but me and Bryce were brought together by dogs. It's what we eat, breathe. That's all we're about.
We eat dogs?
No, not really. Hey, actually, on a side note, to be honest with you, you could go to Guam and they actually have dog farms just like we have cattle farm.
Really?
Yes.
In Guam?
Guam.
Didn't know that.
Yes, sir.
Well,
that right there is some historical information for
this
you.
podcast already took a turn. I wasn't ready for that one.
Hey, guys, get ready. It's going to be an adventure. We're here for everything. We're going to go over some different styles of hunting throughout this whole podcast. Not this one in particular, but going forward. Me and Bryce were brought together by it. We become friends. We're going to get into it on this podcast, and we hope that you, just come along with us in the journey and become family and friends.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. So, today's episode number 1 here, all about just laying down the groundwork for this podcast and just how we got started with this. We have been doing this for a long time. When I say doing this, I mean, Basham and I hunting together, being buddies, being brothers. Like it's more than a friendship. Yep. It's not a bromance. It's a brotherhood.
I don't know. If you ask the wife, it's Brycey the wifey. That's what she calls you. Oh my
gosh.
That's what she calls you.
Oh, don't have to get on to her.
I know it.
But no, guys, this has been fun. So, the Deep and Lonely podcast, which I hope you guys have listened to in the past, was awesome. It was amazing. The amount of support and just feedback we got on that from you guys, the listeners, was amazing over at the Houndsman XP podcast. But I wanted to do something different. I wanted to get out of backing myself into a corner, only having competition coon hunting to talk about. That's my passion. That's my love. But I really, really enjoy working dogs of all forms. And, to do that, I felt like we just needed a little rebranding. So little creative juices started flowing. I started talking to my buddy Basham, and, we got the idea of joining each other and doing the Semper Doggin podcast. So Basham, before we get into the whole concept of Semper Doggin and everything, why don't you go back here and tell our listeners a little bit about yourself? Give yourself a little bit of credibility because we know you don't have much.
No, not much at all.
But give them a little bit. Give them some insights for those of you who don't know you, who don't follow you on Facebook. They've never drawn you in a hunt. Who is Stephen Basham and why are you here?
True, man. We could have a few episodes on something like that. So basically, I got started coon hunting probably when I was like 5 or 6 years old. My dad, which anybody that knows me knows, wherever I am, my dad's typically not too far behind. And so I got started about 5 or 6. I'd always go with my dad every weekend, every night that I could. And really, it turned into an addiction. If you ask the wife, it's not just something that I do as a hobby. It's who I am. It's embedded in me. I was born with the dogs. If you hear my family talk about it, so there I was, as a young kid, just following Dad around, and got different coon hounds throughout my life, teenage years, and I started competition hunting competitively. My dad was more of a pleasure hunter. He loved going to these, back in the day, a UKC hunt, it was an all-day event. I mean, we had drag races and water races and treeing contests. And for those that you don't know, the most fun event out of all of them was something called the road cage. And you take this road cage and you put it in the center of a circle and you turn the dog loose, and the one that can knock it out of the circle the fastest won the road cage contest. And that was exciting. So we had that. Then you had the hunt. So it was just a whole day event. And so we used to go to those every weekend, me and my dad would. And then it just kept evolving from there. I took a liking to the competition side of it, going out and competing and training and competing, kind of fast forwarding through all my teenage years just to kind of make this a little shorter. I joined the Marine Corps and left. The ability to be able to coon hunt. I went out to California and lived my life out there. Ended up going overseas quite a few times and came back. I got out of the Marine Corps the first time somewhere around 2007. Came back to Dad's house, worked a little bit, went back into the Marine Corps. I got stationed in North Carolina, and that's where I finally picked up coon hunting again. And started coon hunting hot and heavy over there, handling dogs for multiple people and really competition hunting. Deployed one time, came back, and then the evolution of me as a houndsman began to grow even more. So backing up just a hair, whenever I was younger, we had rabbit dogs and squirrel dogs and coon dogs, and I mean anything that had a dog to do with it. We had obviously labs as a pet, so everything that I've done from a kid was just dogs related. Now going back to the present, as far as in the Marine Corps created a program called the IDD detector dog. Basically what we did is we took Labrador retrievers that were in the field trial world, so field champion bird dogs, and we took them and we took the bird aspect away from it, and we imprinted these dogs on deck cord, ammonium nitrate, C4, just all your bomb making materials that we were seeing in our area of operations overseas, and we imprinted these Labrador retrievers on it. So I went to a school in Southern Pines, North Carolina called K2 Solutions, and they actually taught me how to train these handlers, and I became the kennel master, 2nd Battalion, 8th Marines. And so that's kind of where the evolution of me as a dog man really kind of took a big different out of the hunting world into the service world. But for me, it's just Man, everything that embodies me. If you know me as a person, dogs are my thing. I like dogs more than I do people. It's just, I think most of us that are in this world would say that. There's just a common bond between a man and his best friend, and that's a dog. And so on this podcast, guys, that's what it's all about. I'm getting goosebumps sitting here talking about it just because if you wholeheartedly live it like we do, you understand the validity of what we're talking about, and that is that a dog brings something out in you that people just can't. When you're having a bad day, they're there no matter what. When you're having a good day, they're there to share in it. And just something about a dog just brings a person up. And that's just been me my whole life. I've competition hunted. I've competed on the top level. I've competed on the lower level. I've had good times at competition hunts. And I've had the bad times. But I think what keeps me going back is just the love of the dogs. Taking something that is nothing and making it something. And so I guess in a nutshell, that's kind of my story there, Bryce.
Yeah, man. I've heard that story 100 times, and every time I still enjoy hearing it because you can just hear the passion in it. That's what you do. And it's the same for me. It's a little bit different for me. I'll give you guys a little bit of background on myself here. If you guys listen to Semper or the Deep and Lonely podcast, you've heard it before, but we're really hoping that we've got some new listeners today. So just bear with us and give us a chance on this podcast. It's new for both of us, but it's going to be good.
I think that's all me and you both are after is just a chance to show that the passion that we have and just follow us on our endeavors, because it's not, for those of you that aren't into coon hunting, that's not what this podcast is about. This is not a coon hunting podcast. During this podcast, we're going to go through every walk of life that a dog does, all the way down to just the pets in the house. We're going to talk to different people, and that's what we hope that you guys join with us and follow along, because it's truly a passion.
For sure. So, a little bit about myself. I grew up, born in North Carolina, raised here in Indiana, but I always had family down in North Carolina on my dad's side. And we would go down there in the winter times and we'd go deer hunting with my granddaddy. And, the deer hunting down there in North Carolina that we did wasn't like the stand still hunting we do here in Indiana. It's running deer dogs down there. And those are some of my fondest memories as a kid, is going down there and running those deer hounds with my granddaddy and my dad. It was an amazing time. And so that's kind of probably where my love for dogs started, was running those deer hounds down there in North Carolina. And when I only got to do that in the wintertime, in December, once a year, because we couldn't do that here in Indiana. So, most of my early childhood career, I didn't have a hunting dog. We always had house dogs, had yellow labs and boxers, and we had a miniature pincher. We had all kinds of different dogs, but no hunting dogs. Fast forward to college, and I've got a buddy that I'm taking some classes with, and he's like, "Hey man, you want to go coon hunting this weekend?" And I was like, "I guess. I like to hunt. I'm a big deer hunter, but I guess. I don't know. What is coon hunting really like?" He's like, "With the dogs." I was like, "Well, if it's got a dog and we can hunt it, yeah, I'm in. I'll try it." And that, my buddy was Quentin Clough. I got to give him a little shout out because he's the one who started this whole thing. And so we went out. We had a blackmouth cur. One-eyed Kate is her name, for obvious reasons. She's only got one eye. But that little jip, man, she started something for me that will last until the day that I die. We went coon hunting that night. We treed several coons. And then we went squirrel hunting the next morning, me, him, and his dad. And we treated 3-man limit of squirrels with the same dog. And it absolutely blew my mind that a dog was able to do that, just be so versatile. And she lived in the house on top of that. When we got done hunting, she lived in the house with them. So she was your best friend during the day. She'd go out with you, coon hunt at night, wake up in the morning, squirrel hunt. She just knew what time it was based on the time of day. And that really left a lasting impression on me. And from that moment, I was hooked. went out, got myself a coon dog, found him on Craigslist, just a registered or a grade dog, wasn't even registered. Started pleasure hunting him a little bit, really enjoyed it. Then I found out there was competitions, and I'm a competitive person by nature. So decide, all right, this dog that I have now, he's probably not good enough for these competitions. Went out and found a dog that I thought was. Lo and behold, now she wasn't, you know. But it was fun, and through the trial and error and meeting different people, I have evolved as a houndsman, mainly in the coonhound world. But like as Basham said earlier, I've met a million people through dogs. I met Basham through dogs.
Yep.
And, you know, now the last 5 years, I went down to Virginia to go bear hunting with a good buddy of ours, Heath Hyatt. Go down there and run those bear dogs. Recently, I've gotten into doing some squirrel hunting up north with a buddy, and his cur dog's been doing quite a bit of that here recently. Got into coyote hunting down in Kentucky. Been doing that, you know.
With old Dalton.
Yeah, Dalton Hillard, you know, watching his scent hounds and his sight hounds work, which the sight hounds I'd never been around until about 2 months ago.
Yeah. And
I've got a newfound passion for these dogs. I don't, it's an appreciation and it's a passion. Like, they are freaking awesome.
They're fast.
They're cool, man. Like, it's great. And we've got a story. We have a podcast for you on that, you know, covering those types of things. But these coon hounds have opened the doors to so many different types of hound sports and things that I never knew were possible. I didn't know they were out there. No. And, you know, I've been doing this for 9 years now. I got into coon hunt when I was 20 years old. I'm 29. And it's been the best 9 years of my life. Honestly, I can say that. You know, I've met my fiance, my future wife. We're getting married in August. I met her through coonhounds. I met her through Basham and coonhounds. Yep. You know, you were right there with me the day that I met her. And
that's a whole nother story.
It is. But it's just the bond that you and I have as brothers, and these dogs that it's brought to us. Like,
you were hype man at that point in time.
Absolutely. You were doing your thing, and I was just there to be your equipment manager.
Yep.
But it's worked out, you know, and those are the kind of stories and passions we want to share with you guys. You know, we've got several different disciplines of people lined up on this podcast for you guys to learn with us, to grow and evolve as houndsmen and women with us, you know. The concept of Semper Doggin, I'm going to let Basham I'm going to turn it over to Basham. I'm going to let him explain it to you guys, because this is really his brainchild, but it's something that I have believed in and supported since he told me about it.
That he has, guys. That he has. He was actually, before he ever decided to come on to join me in the podcast, he really pushed, saying that he thought it could be bigger, he thought it could be better, and so here we are now. So kind of where it all started, Semper Doggin. I'm actually getting cold chills thinking about it, just because it means that much to me. So Semper Doggin, I obviously, as anybody knows, I hunt probably as hard as just about anybody, or I did. I've kind of taken a break for a little bit as this podcast is aired. I'm doing a lot of working right now, but Semper Doggin, what does it mean? So I was kind of going along, and I had been working as an electrician for a while, and a bigger company came and bought my company out, and they kind of shut us down. And at that point in time, I was hunting quite a bit. And I had many people ask me, hey, what would you charge to hunt a dog for a month for me? And so I kind of gave them a figure, and I started hunting. And as I started hunting, I was like, man, I like this. Maybe I could just do this for a while, as my main source of income. So I started hunting pretty hard, 6 days a week. I'd hunt from, 9 o'clock at night to 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, about 5-6 nights a week, So I started hunting for the public. And all of a sudden I was like, you know what? I think this would be a good opportunity to kind of start my own brand. Start my own, not just kennel club, but my own brand of, training dogs and something that meant something to me. So I sat down and I came up with a million. Anybody that's ever named a company, you go through a million different ideas. Dog 101, Coon Hunting Extreme, I came up with some of the dumbest names that you would ever hear. And then all of a sudden, I was sitting down one day and I thought, what means something to me? Because it's kind of like if you've met me, you know that I've got tattoos. And I don't ever get one unless it means something to me. And here I was starting a new endeavor, and I was like, what means something to me? And the first thing that popped in my head was Semper Fidelis. And anybody that doesn't know Semper Fidelis, Marine Corps motto, it means always faithful. And I broke it down, and I said, okay, so Semper is always, and Fidelis is faithful. Well, if I'm always coon hunting, then let's do Semper. And I didn't really have another word for it at first. I said Semper coon hunting, Semper hunting, Semper treeing walker coon hound, Semper. And I just kept going through. And then all of a sudden, I was like, well, I'm from Kentucky. I'm a little redneck. Let's just use a redneck term. Semper Doggin. And it stuck. It stuck, and from that point forward, I kind of started off slow. I started a Doggin Tuesday, which we are going to bring back. Doggin Tuesdays.
Absolutely. So you guys can join us over on our Facebook page, the Semper Doggin Podcast, and on Tuesdays, Basham and I, it's going to be actually every other Tuesday.
Yes, sir.
Basham and I are going to get on and do a Facebook Live. It's going to be the first and third Tuesdays of each month. You guys can join us. We'll let you know the times, prior to that. But after we do those Doggin Tuesdays, the subsequent weeks, the second and fourth, will be when this podcast comes out of the month. So first Tuesday of the month, Doggin Tuesday on Facebook Live at our Facebook group. Second week of the month, we're going to have the podcast coming out. Third week, Doggin Tuesday. Fourth week, podcast. So that's going to be a little bit of the format of this. But Basham, go ahead and keep going with the Semper Doggin. I just want to interject there.
Oh, no problem, buddy. So yeah, that's where it all started, was the Doggin Tuesdays. And man, I got good feedback on it. Everybody liked just joining in. And what I liked about it was it was live and it was raw. And Bryce will go kind of into my pushback when he first brought it to me about doing a podcast. One thing that I always said on my Doggin Tuesdays was, hey guys, this is not recorded. This is not edited. This is raw. It's right at you. Here we are. Let's talk about it. And then now here I am doing a podcast. So it kind of evolved, but Bryce would always say, man, I think you got something there. I really would like to see you push forward. And lo and behold, I think things happen in your life for a reason. And some unfortunate incidences happened to me that caused me to kind of step away from competition hunting. And I believe whenever I stepped away, I found my passion again, in that it's not about competing. It's about the dog. I found, I've got two in particular, but there's one dog that kind of hits a spot between me and Bryce. It's the dog that just really brought me and him together, more than friends, but more like brothers riding down the road. And that's Duncan Hit the Spot. And he is owned by Tiffany and Jeffrey Davis of Mississippi. They sent him back to me. He wasn't doing exactly the way he was when I had him up here, and I won 7s at the UKC World and won at Autumn Oaks and doubled up at Super Stakes and as a 1-year-old. And so I told Jeffrey, I said, after my unfortunate incidents is I told Jeffrey that this winter I just wanted to, just me and Spot, go back to the way it was. 13, 14 years old, sneaking out of the house, putting a 5-gallon bucket next to the window so that I could get out of the window in the middle of the night after I heard Dad starting to snore. And then I'd sneak back in at 5:30 in the morning and act like I was asleep so that they could wake me up to go to school the next morning and then get kicked out of school for sleeping. So that's kind of where it all evolved from. And then Bryce called me one day and he said, well, actually I called him and I said, hey man, I need help. He said, what do you got? I said, well, I've got 2 dogs that need to be hunted at Ripley, Tennessee, and I'm only one man. You think you can help me? And he said, yep. He said, I'll handle one for you. He said, there's something that I've been wanting to talk to you about anyways. And so he threw the idea of turning the Deep and Lonely podcast into Semper Doggin. And that's kind of where we are. That's kind of where Semper Doggin came from. Always faithful to always dogging. I believe both traits embody what we're about here at Semper Doggin. We're always faithful to always dogging.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. And, you know, Basham and I, we've run up and down these roads together for years now. It's when we chase these dogs to all these hunts. We explore new territories. We go to different states together. I mean,
back to Arkansas? You want to go back to Arkansas, bud?
Yeah, we can go back to Arkansas. Yeah, I mean, that was okay. We've been to Arkansas. We've been to Mississippi. We've been to Virginia. Just all over the place. Anywhere southern, southeastern, we've been there. You know, we ride down the road all the time. Basham's always driving. I'm usually sleeping. But when I'm awake, we have really good conversation, you know, just about life. And I thought that, you know, on that trip that he mentioned over there to Ripley, Tennessee, this would be a good chance to pitch it. Like, he's got the idea. He's got the knowledge. I already had a podcast platform with Deep and Lonely. I was wanting to do something a little different. Let's marry the two together. You know, why not jump into this with somebody who I've done everything else with? You know, what's different about this?
Yep.
You know, great idea, good platform. Let's see what we can do with it. And it might flop. I don't think it will.
You know what, though? And, you know, as this has evolved, and obviously people in your circle know about it, people in my circle know about it. And, you know, you'll get those people that'll say, hey, this ain't going to work, or, you know, starting an endeavor like this with someone so close to you, it's going to be hard to develop it into something. And here's what I've told every single person that I've talked to. Even if all this ever ends up being is 2 buddies sharing stories on a podcast, I'm fine with that. Me
too, because guess what? We'll be able to go back and listen to them, you know?
Yep.
It's a recording session.
Yep.
It's going to be good. But, you know, just to give you guys a little bit more about the format of this show. So, we already mentioned the first and third Tuesdays of the month are going to be Doggin' Tuesdays on Facebook. The second and fourth Fridays of the month are going to be when the podcast releases. This podcast is not going to be about just coon hunting. It's not just squirrel hunting. It's not just agility dogs. It's not just bomb dogs. It's not just police dogs. It's not just mountain lion dogs, coyote dogs, rabbit dogs, whatever, bird dogs. It's not any of those in particular.
It's about that wiener dog that you have laying on the couch, or that little toy miniature chihuahua that follows you to bed every morning, or sits outside the bathroom door waiting for you to get done, you know, taking your shower. This podcast is going to embody dogs in general.
Of all kinds. And we are going to explore those. We're going to hopefully learn more about them and teach you guys a little something along the way, not necessarily from us, but through the people who we have as guests on this show who are experts in that field or who are passionate about what they do. You know, not everybody we talk to is going to be an expert, but they're going to have passion. Yes. Just like us.
Yes.
And I think passion goes a long way.
I think passion goes further than knowledge in a lot of avenues.
I think passion will get you to knowledge.
Yep.
I do. So, we've already got guests lined up who we've already pre-recorded with before this come out. We've got Lane Denny going to be coming to you, competition coon hunting.
Oh, Lane.
We've got Heath Hyatt coming to you, bear hunter, big time bear hunter down in Virginia. Dalton Hillard, we've already recorded with him. Coyotes, running greyhounds, running walker hounds, trig hounds, all different kinds of dogs to marry all these different disciplines together to complete one goal, which is to hunt a coyote. To me, that's a work of art. It's beautiful.
Oh, it definitely is. It takes a lot of time and a lot of passion to do anything with a dog. I talk to guys all the time, and I tell them about the endeavor that I'm on, and they're, even in my work of being an electrician, they're like, oh man, I've got this dog at the house, and I'd really like to teach it obedience training and, this, that, and the other. And I tell them, I say, the hardest thing is not to train the dog. It's to train the human, because the dog is consistent in everything it does. The human is not.
Right. So, we've got guests who we have not recorded with yet, but have agreed to come on here and talk to us. We got Calvin Redhouse with Res Hounds out there in Arizona. He, former, he was in the Marines, I believe he was, but now he's out there running mountain lions, bobcats, bears. We've got Hannah Falling, said she's going to come on. She's a coon hunter. She's running is it American Bulldog on flyball?
Don't hold us to that, because I know there's
a certain term.
Yeah, there's a certain term, and they get kind of bent out of shape if you don't use the right term.
Yes,
so.
But it's really cool what she's doing. I watched her on Facebook. I've watched all the steps where she's trained this dog, Piston, I think is his name. Yep. He was a show dog, and now she's running him in this event called flyball.
Yes, and then
neat.
And then doing her pet grooming.
Yeah, absolutely. So she's already agreed to come on here. So guys, we've got all these different types of people who we've already recorded with. We've already got promises to come in here and record with us on that are all in different aspects. But it's not just going to be a mumble jumble every other week of something different. We are going to, hopefully, and this is just a plan, we're thinking out loud here, spend a few weeks talking about coyotes with the coyote hounds with those in that field, from the eastern border all the way to the guys out west, talking about the different types of hunting, going to bear hunting, the guys from the north all the way down from the guys to the south, the coon hunters, from your local behind the barn pleasure hunter to the elite handlers of right now. Spend a few weeks on each of those things to get a better dive, a better learning and understanding in each of those before we jump around to the next thing. I don't want it to be jumping around all the time.
Yeah.
That gets confusing.
Oh, it does. What's next? So basically what we're going to try to do here, guys, is obviously bear hunting with dogs happens at a certain time of year.
Yep.
So there's certain aspects that are only going to happen certain times of the year, like bear hunting and different things like that. Obviously, we're blessed as coon hunters. We can do it anytime we want.
Here in Indiana, at least.
Yeah, here in Indiana. So we're going to spend, and this will be something we come out with a little later down the road as far as an actual schedule. It's something that me and Bryce are kind of fly by our seats. So we're kind of thinking out loud on the podcast. So if you listen to our podcast and you join us every week, Tuesdays, Doggin Tuesday, the following Friday, the podcast will release the following Tuesday. If you follow along with us, you will see the evolution of Semper Doggin, because we are not two guys that really say, 6 months from now, we want to do this. You're going to see us sitting here, moving our gums, talking, and all of a sudden it's going to be born. So follow along with us. Follow along with the adventure. It's not just me and Bryce.
No, not at all.
That's what we want you guys to understand. Semper Doggin is not Bryce Matthews and Stephen Basham. It is every dog man and every dog woman out there. This is what we all embody.
Absolutely. So I think it's going to be fun. Do you want to go into a little bit of our overall goals, missions, and maybe some future plans here at the podcast, just to plant the seed of where we have big visions? If any of you guys have ever talked to me or Basham, we are dreamers. Our wives call us crazy, but we think big.
Big.
Where do you think it can go? What do you think? Just tell our listeners our overall goal, mission, and maybe some future plans.
So here we go. Me and Bryce were driving down the road, Ripley, Tennessee. And Bryce looked over at me and he goes, man, how far do you think Semper Doggin can really go if we do this? And I said, bud, the sky's the limit. I said, if you really want my honest opinion, I think it's as far as we push it to go. You look at PetSmart. You look at anywhere. My number one example to Bryce was Mossy Oak. I said, if you go back and look at the history of Mossy Oak, they started out as just stickers. They started out as just selling shirts. Now what are they doing? They're making tree stands. They're making guns, putting wraps on guns. They're a multi-million-dollar company. I'm not saying me and Bryce Matthews are going to be a multi-million-dollar owners, but I think making our own dog food, making our own dog houses, having stuff, who knows? Who knows where this is going to go? But at the very worst, it's two buddies on a podcast sharing adventures with other dogmen, other dog women. My kids will forever be able, when I go, they'll be forever be able to hear these recordings. They'll be able to go back and say, that's my dad. That's the passion that he had. That's what he loved. And at the worst, that's what we have. But at the best, who knows? And so when you talk about our vision statement, when you talk about where we want to go, I have a passion. I have something that probably means just as much to me as dogs. And that's my military brothers. That is my wounded brothers. That is the brothers that I served with. Anybody that's been around me, I don't really talk too much about my military career. I did a lot of deployments overseas and spent. I think I counted it up one time, and I was up to 100 and something months overseas. And so I've spent a lot of time, done a lot of things, and helping. There's a lot of, and I told Bryce I didn't just want to be like everybody else, because Bryce asked me, he said, I really would like to help vets, like Wounded Warrior or this or that or the other. And I said, I really don't want to be like everybody else. I kind of want to be unique in our own kind of way. And we're not sure where that's going to go yet. Right before this recording, me and Bryce were kind of talking about it, and he asked me, he said, should we mention what we eventually want to do? And I said, do you know exactly what we want to do? And he said, no. And I said, then let's just leave it broad. We would like to, in some way, shape, or form, some of the profits, if there ever is any. Big if this thing ever takes off and there are profits, we would like to take a biggest majority of that and to either some way, shape, or form help a vet go on a style of a hunt that he's never been on, or more importantly to me, help train or purchase a service dog for a vet. Just somewhere in that lines. Like I said, guys, you are on the ground floor. So we ask you to join us on this endeavor, because it's never just going to be me and Bryce. We're neither one of us are made of money. And so that's not what this podcast is about whatsoever. It's about a passion, but we are not going to be able to do this alone. So we ask that you join with us and seeing where this can go, embodying it with us. That is kind of our mission. It's not just me and Bryce. It's all of us. It's all of us as dog men, dog women. But eventually we would like to take it to unfound territory within ourselves, help veterans out wherever we possibly can, and kind of go that route.
Absolutely, man. I mean, it's bigger than that for me. Like you said, we don't know where this is going to go, but if it ever does go somewhere, I want to give back. There's been several people who have mentored me along the way and helped me out along the way. And the least that I can do is pay that forward, for somebody who's given the ultimate thing they can give to our country. That's to serve. And if they're down and out and they need a little help and we can help them through this podcast, that's what I want to do. I
hope that the listeners hear, when you hear Bryce talk, there's different levels to Bryce, okay? Everybody knows. I know people say that I'm loud, but man, he gets excited. All right, so there's different levels of Bryce. There's different levels of me, and I hope and pray that you guys hear the sincerity and the passion in our hearts, not just for dogs, but for each other as houndsmen, for the camaraderie that we build between each other, running up and down the roads, sleeping in the same hotel rooms, doing this, duffel bags thrown in the back, lights everywhere. Well, my lights everywhere. Bryce, anybody that knows, Bryce has got to have his hair dryer.
Easy now. I just live an organized life, okay?
Yeah, let's ask Nikki about that.
Oh, it's organized.
Let's ask Nikki.
It's organized.
Where'd you find your vest?
In the closet.
On the side of the road, or did you have to go pick it up?
Oh, I did have to go do that. I was in a rental car. Gosh darn it. My organized system got thrown off.
So as you see, guys, we are not the type of podcast that is going to have a script. We are going to we're going to bounce all over the place, but we're going to try to stay. He's going to more so than me try to keep me on track.
That's a task.
Because I see a squirrel and I like to chase it. So
absolutely. So guys, it's going to be fun. It really is going to be fun. I'm getting ready to hit Basham with something right now that I didn't even talk to him about before here. So
here we go.
Wham, bam, thank you, ma'am.
Here we go.
All right. Give me one of your favorite stories of you and I together. It can be funny. It can be embarrassing. Give me something.
Man. All right. Honestly, probably one of the funniest, and it didn't even really involve us together, was I got 2 dogs qualified for the UKC World Hunt. And I had called Johnny Hamilton, and I had said, hey, man, are you going down there? And he said, no, I'm working. And I said, dang it. I said, I kind of need somebody else to handle a dog for me. And he said, I got this young guy. He's all into it. He said, he don't know much about the rules, but he can strike and tree a dog. I said, hey, that's good enough. Whatever, Beggars can't be chooser. I'll take the bottom of the barrel. And so he hooked me up with Bryce. Well, Thursday, the dog that I was hunting came in heat. And Bryce had already hunted with the male dog a couple times. And so I told him, I said, I'm not going to take the dog away from you. Come and get the dog. I'm actually just going to go to work. I didn't know Bryce very well at this time. And I was just like, man, I don't know this kid. I'm going to go to work. I'm going to make some money. I'm going to let him go hunting. And so he said, okay. He said, I'm always early, so what time do I need to be up there? And I said, man, it's a UKC hunt. I said, deadline's probably going to be like 7 o'clock. He said, all right, I'll get up there at 6. And I get a phone call from Bryce, and Bryce says, buddy, the deadline was at 3 o'clock.
Oh, I was so ready to go, too.
Oh, he was so mad.
I didn't even know where to find the information, or else I would have found it myself, and we wouldn't have been in this predicament.
He was so mad, and I said, well, he said, that's okay. I'll come back tomorrow. I said, Bryce, the thing about the UKC zones is if you get scratched one night, you can't hunt the other. That made it 10 times worse, and I will say that he never, ever, ever lets me live it down. If we're talking about going to a hunt together, he will say, well, let me get online and verify the deadline information.
Yeah, absolutely, because I'm not getting stuck with that again. I was so pumped up, and it was just like somebody took a daggone Swiss Army knife and popped my balloon.
Honestly, probably if I was sitting here being honest with me and you, probably the time you have more reasons than I do, But probably the time that sticks out the most with me and you was our run to the UKC World.
Oh, it was great.
Not only because that's where you met Nikki and your future wife and your future family and all of that, but it was, I think that hunt there bonded us as, you know, because I was hunting. You know, people thought we were crazy on Facebook, you know, going live. You know, some people took offense saying that we were being arrogant, which we weren't. We were just enjoying it, win, lose, or draw. If you, you know, it was just a wonderful time between two friends.
Just living in the moment.
If you ask, and I'll tell you who can, I've heard him tell the story 2 or 3 times, and that's old Jason Cooper.
Yep.
He will tell you, and it's probably because he blew me out of the water.
Yeah.
And I had to emphasize that just like that because that's
bad.
exactly what happened.
The wheels fell off the train.
He said that the final 9 cast that me and him was on, or was
no,
it wasn't final 9. It was
final 7.
Wasn't
it?
Final something. We were heads up.
It was less than 10.
Yep, we were heads up. It was late round Friday night at the UKC World. It was me. It was Spot against Outlaw, and the first tree, I thought I had him licked.
Possum.
I thought I had him licked.
We tried everything we could to get him to think it was a possum.
I thought I had... Well, no, I had first and first on that one anyways. He had second and second. So I was like, oh, I've got him. What I didn't know was Outlaw was good at going 25 yards and treeing another one.
Oh, yeah, the possum wasn't the first tree.
Yeah, that one.
No, there was just a really, really white coon we were trying to get him to think was a possum.
Yep.
That wasn't the first tree. I messed that up.
That was like the 4th or 5th coon that he treed.
I've slept since then.
Yeah, so I got the first and first on him, and then he went 25 yards and jammed one, and then went 40 yards and jammed one, and then went, yeah, it was bad. But anyways, Coop will tell you that he never met 2 guys that enjoyed losing as much as me and Bryce. And it wasn't that we enjoyed losing. Me and Bryce were just enjoying the ride.
It was a ride.
And so I think if you really look at the aspects and everything that came out of that weekend, for me, it wasn't even just that. For me, it's also something that you don't know. It's the friendship and the family atmosphere that I have built with Jeffrey Davis, Tiffany Davis, that I have built with Michelle Roberts and Ben Roberts. That family is phenomenal. Love them to death. It's a relationship that I've built with them through Spot. So that dog has brought a lot onto our plate.
Yes.
That weekend probably embodies and is probably the focal point of me and you, our friendship, our brotherhood, the whole 9 yards.
Yep, I agree. Guys, we're going to wrap this up here. I don't want to drag this one out too long, but I do want to mention our 2 sponsors that we've got for this show. They're going to be helping us out. We cannot do this without a little bit of help. It's not cheap to put these things on. That's just the bottom line. It's not. We had to have a little help. And we've got 2 companies who are ready to take on this journey with us. They're ready to help us out. They know it's not going to be crazy good right off the bat, but they're ready to join us. And that is Froggy Bottom Outdoors and Never Satisfied Off-Road. So you guys be listening to future episodes. Don't skip right through the ad section in the episodes. I need you guys to listen to what these 2 companies have going on, what they have to offer, because it's good for all hound hunters in general. They're going to have something to offer everybody. So please don't skip right through the ad sections in the future episodes. Take a minute, listen to what they have to offer. It's going to help you out in the long run.
If you want to support us, you'll go support the sponsors. Like I said, this is a ride for all of us. Jump on board, be with us from beginning to end. Help our sponsors out. They help us out. They believe in our product. We went to them and talked to them about our vision. We had to give them our vision statement, our mission statement. We had to give them our sales pitch, shall you say. and tell them who we were. And they've come on board. They want to help us on this endeavor, so we ask you to support them as you support us.
Yep, absolutely. So, guys, we're going to wrap it up on this one. Basham, you got anything else you want to close out with?
No, I appreciate everything you do, Bryce. Not just saying that. I think, especially in this time right now with me for being away from town and working so much, this thing doesn't go where it's supposed to go without you. I appreciate you not only as a friend, but as a brother, and now as a co-founder of Semper Doggin.
Yeah, man, it's good. It ain't no sweat. You know, it's something that I enjoy to do, and they say when you enjoy what you're doing, it's really not work, right?
Yep.
So, no, it's good, guys. Like I said, we've already got several episodes recorded. They're logged. They're in the pipeline. They're ready to come to you. They're good.
Yes.
They're probably better than this one. Actually, I know they are.
Yeah.
Because it's not just me and you rambling.
Yeah, I know it. It's not just us rambling. It's a little bit more thought out.
Absolutely. So, guys, stay tuned to that. Like I said, every other week, Doggin Tuesday, the off weeks of that are going to be the podcast released on Fridays. First and third is Doggin Tuesdays. Second and fourth, Semper Doggin Podcast. Be sure to head over to our Facebook page. Join us over there. Interact with us over there. We want to talk to you guys. We want to see your pictures. We want to see your videos. We want this to be a family.
Yeah, and just stay tuned. I mean, we're going to be doing all kinds of things to promote this. I mean, anybody that's ever started anything knows that you know we're going to have giveaways. We're going to have this. We're going to have that. We're going to have like and shares.
Heck, we've already done giveaways.
Yep. Yeah, we already have. So head
on
over
the Facebook
there.
Group.
Head over there. You gave away a tumbler.
I gave away a leather wrap tumbler. I gave away a license plate.
Yes, sir. So just head on over to our Facebook page. Follow us. We'll be getting some more out there to give away, to have some like and shares, and we'll spin that wheel. And like I said, guys, and embrace us, bring us along. Y'all come along with us. Let's build this up. Let's create that family atmosphere that I think everybody would agree is missing in today's hunting world.
Absolutely, guys. So we're going to wrap this one up. We're done. We'll catch you on the next one. Until then, keep dogging.